It is time for Around the 412 with Smitty and Tyler.
Welcome back to another episode of Around the 412. I am Tyler. With me, as always, is my co-host Smitty. Go follow us on all of our social medias at Around the 412. Also, check us out on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell if you have not already, so you never miss a video. And follow us also where you listen to the podcast, whether that's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere you listen. Tune in, follow us, and leave a 5-star review. Also, check out the description of the show. We've mentioned that we have all the links to our great sponsors down there, which we do, but then you're also going to see a new link that you're going to see from now until Christmas, but it's not new to probably most of you. You've seen it for years coming. This is year 8 of rocking Around the 412. It's our Christmas fundraiser that we've been doing the past 7 years to help raise money to be able to provide children in the local 724-412 area codes the Christmas that they deserve, the Christmas that Smitty and I had to never worry about where it was coming from. We wanted to be able to give back. Several years ago, starting this fundraiser and being able to do that for 8 years now is awesome. You're going to see the GoFundMe in the link of the description of each and every show from now until a couple weeks into December, right before Christmas time. So if you want to get involved, you can check it out there. Also, eventually, you're going to hear more about the East Rochester Salvation Army Angel Tree whenever that starts to get involved. I'm sure that's kind of going to be more into the fall, but for right now, we've got the GoFundMe going. So if you wanted to donate, get involved, you can share that GoFundMe as well on all your socials. But if you want to donate as well, the link is there.
Here we go. Good stuff. We'll talk about obviously all the other stuff at the back end of the show, but we have been pushing this, and this is the last week to do so. Probably a couple days left at this point. The Horse Nickel first Memorial Golf outing taking place at Fox Run Golf Course on Saturday, August 16th, 9 a.m. But you got to register your foursome by July 5th. So don't know what day it is by the time you guys are watching or listening to this, but be sure to register your foursome if you want to be involved with that. A lot of great prizes, a lot of fun, and obviously go into a really good cause. So be sure to check that out. Link is down below to the Facebook page. And on the Facebook page, the registration page is on that. It's just the easiest way to get you all the information you need to do it that way. So good stuff there, as always, from the Horse Nickel crew. But Tyler, I want to play a game today on today's Pirates episode. I've been wanting to do this for a couple weeks, but last week, obviously, you not here. We only put out a Steelers episode, which, by the way, Pat Fryermuth on the pod last week. Be sure to check out that interview. 25 minutes or so conversation with Pat about Aaron Rodgers joining the team, the state of the wide receiver room, early returns on Caleb Johnson and the vibes he's getting from him, R.D. Smith. Really good stuff. So be sure to go check that out. But I wanted to go through trade deadline coming up, and even though the Pirates are on a nice little winning streak right now, won 5 in a row, they actually have not lost since I came back from vacation. Just noticed that. Donnie Kelly over 500 again as a manager. By the time people are watching or listening to this, is it still the case? Maybe not. But by the time we're recording this, it is. So Pirates are on a nice little heater. A lot of those before tonight were blowouts as well. So the bats have been playing, and then, of course, Paul Steen's pitches, so the bats are silent, but they only win 1-0. What I wanted to do, though, is it very much looks like the Pirates are going to be sellers once again for the 90th time in our lifetime. So what I wanted to do is go through the roster. What I wanted to do is go through the roster and get your opinion, trade or keep, basically. What we should do with each player on the roster. And obviously there's guys that are going to be like, who cares? We're going to go through every guy though. So there are certainly ones that are more impactful here, but I got the entire Pittsburgh Pirates roster pulled up. Do you want to do this alphabetically? Do you want to go through them in terms of like impact or what?
I feel like impact's probably harder to do just off the fly. I feel like either position group or alphabetical is probably the best way to go.
We'll literally show top to bottom how they are on the Pittsburgh Pirates website. So,
all right.
Braxton Ashcraft.
I would say keep. I think that's someone that you don't give up on. He hasn't really had a ton of action in the MLB so far. He's done pretty well.
He's looked good when he has pitched, and obviously he's still a ton of control. There's no reason to move him right now. My God, he was born in 1999. That's just like that's sad to see.
Well,
We're so old.
That's sad to see, but it's his first year in the majors, and he's 26.
That's true. Yeah,
like that is so Pirates. 1999 is 26 years old now.
Burroughs was also born in 99. I guess it's not. Yeah, that's not like super. Oh man, yeah, Steens is 02. Yeah, never mind. So, but anyways, all right. Braxton Ashcraft we're both keeping. Right off the bat here, number 2, we got an interesting one. David Bednar.
You know, I said last year that if you could move him, I would, because I thought that he is in the stage of his career where he was declining. You saw it definitely last year happening over the course of the season. And then you definitely have seen it this season. I mean, you've seen some good spurts from him this season, but at the same time,
well, he's in the middle one right now. 15 straight scoreless appearances. His ERA is down to like 2.6 or something like that. Like,
yeah,
he's definitely in the middle of one right now.
And that's why I would say you're probably not going to get a better opportunity to, assuming that the rest of July goes the way that you'd want it to. I'd probably move on from David Bednar because you've got a couple more years of control on him that you could raise the price on him a little bit for, and he has been reliable at times for a majority of his career, but over the last season, he is like, including this season and going back to the last season, he's just had times where I feel like he just doesn't have it anymore. He's starting to go in that tail end. He reached the peak and then now he's coming back down. And I think that the Pirates probably should jump on the value that you will get out of him by moving him. I would trade.
I think that's the scary thing is you never. I just feel like with relievers, you never know when he's going to go. So if you feel like you can maximize return right now, I would do it. I'm not bringing like the he's from Pittsburgh thing into this whatsoever, but he definitely wants to be here. And I was hopeful that he would at least get to see them have a year or two of being good. But
maybe when he's 50.
Yeah. I don't think that can play into the decision here though. At any point, relievers can fall off a cliff, and relievers on bad teams, how valuable are they? So, yeah, I'm trading David Bednar as well.
I mean, I look at, not to cut you off, but I look at what the Pirates did moving on from Mark Melancon when they did. Like, nobody in their right mind, if you're just looking at the player by himself, you would say, why would the Pirates trade Mark Melancon, especially coming out of the 3 seasons of contention that they had. 2016, we didn't know that it was going to turn into another decade of winningless baseball outside of 1 year that shall not be named. Yeah. But moving on from him at that time when he was still at his height, and then after he left Pittsburgh, you saw the drop off. So that's why I would move on from Bednar.
Yeah, and
you never know what you're going to get.
One of the pieces that returned in that was a player that I feel like we don't want to name, who was a reliever and a very good closer, that the Pirates decided not to deal, and then got into the legal trouble that he did for being an awful human being. And they got nothing, obviously, for him. So I think we've seen how that's obviously a very different case, and hopefully one that we never deal with again. Not just us, but
you've seen both sides of the coin.
Yeah. Where, the opportunity was there to maximize the return and they didn't do it. So yeah, I'm there with that as well. Right below him, friend of the program, Mike Burroughs.
To me, no, I don't think that he's had any sort of impact at the MLB level to be moved. So
just brought in, not even sure that this one is worth mentioning, but Genesis Cabrera.
I don't care a better answer.
Yeah, probably. Like, it almost feels like keep trade or I don't care, and I think that probably falls into. Is anybody give them anything for him? Probably not. I have no reason to believe that somebody would, but he would fall into that bucket. This is an interesting one. Bailey Falter.
I mean, the reason that I would say yes is just because he's on a 1-year deal, or I know he has arbitration after this, but
I would like to add another category, just as we just did for Genesis Cabrera. I would extend Bailey Falter.
Okay. I guess I'm looking at this very cynically. I guess I need to get that out of my mind. I probably gotta look at this as like they're trying to get better in 2026.
Yeah, so this is like, because this is what I would do, not what do you think they're going to do. I think that's maybe
That's true.
the approach.
Okay, well, if that's the case, and I'm looking at it as
Mhm.
if I'm trying to get competitive in 2026, then I would keep Bailey Falter because I think that the starting pitching has been good enough.
And spoiler alert, Andrew Heaney's to be further down the list, and I think the opposite of him. So I'd like to keep one of those lefties in the starting rotation. And because of youth on his side, I would choose Bailey Falter. But before we go into this any further, guide you to an ad. And, again, Bailey Falter been very, very serviceable. I don't know that I necessarily consider him one of these, and like a couple other guys in rotation, but been very serviceable. Not necessarily a game changer, though. What's going on, everybody? Smitty from Around the 412, and I just want to take a quick second to give a shout out to our folks at Game Changers. Their logo on the screen right now, right above my microphone. Over 2,000 different designs in their catalog. Luxury heavyweight material. I am wearing one of their shirts right now. Best vintage t-shirts in the game. Head over to gamechanger.la or pick6.la to pick up some shirts. And guess what? Use code AT412. Save yourself $10 on your order every single time. Again, gamechanger.la or pick6.la. Best vintage t-shirts in the game. Check them out. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, is there a world where somebody throws something stupid at the idea of Falter, left-handed pitcher, obviously has been very good for the Pirates, exceeded expectations that I would consider, sure. But I think in an ideal world where I'm trying to get competitive as fast as possible, I'd like to keep him in the rotation. He's only 27. I think he's
is he 27?
27 or 28. Okay, yeah. So yeah, I think he could certainly still be part of the future for them.
I gotta answer these questions a little differently now. In my head, I'm just thinking like cynically this year. I think everything above him, including Bednar, would still be the same. But Bailey Falter is someone, if I'm just looking at getting value for him, I would trade. But if I'm looking at 2026 trying to be competitive, I would keep.
Caleb Ferguson.
I guess keep.
Relievers are interesting because I feel like there's always one that's in the
know.
bullpen that we don't expect to trade that ends up getting traded. Wouldn't surprise me if he's that guy, having a nice year, 2.61 ERA and 38 innings, 30 strikeouts, just a one whip. Which is actually, I mean, his career, even a 3.54 ERA, 344 strikeouts. And so he actually is averaging less strikeouts per nine than typically.
He is on the 1-year deal and he's a UFA next year. So I guess that would make sense.
He's been effective. Yeah. I think he should be. Yeah. I don't think you have to trade him. But for the sake of this, where it's like basically just keep, trade, or extend, I'm trading Caleb Ferguson.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Andrew Heaney, just talked about him. Definitely appreciate what he's brought to this club. Just had a no-hit bid go into the 6th inning, I believe, in his last start before he gave up a hit to the Cardinals. He's been really good. Again, another starting pitcher that's exceeding expectations this year. But, I look at his contract, his age. I'm trading Andrew Heaney. I think that there's definitely a team that's going to probably overpay for what the return on investment will be post-trade deadline. The one thing I have to give the Pirates credit for is they've done this. They've been able to find starting pitching and make them pitch what I believe is above expectation. So I don't think Andrew Heaney's going to end up going somewhere and like replicating the success necessarily. I think, and he's a left-handed pitcher. Let's be honest about that. There's literally just added value in that. So I'm trading Andrew Heaney.
I would trade Andrew Heaney too, and I would actually relate it to a couple years ago whenever they had Rich Hill. I would treat it like that scenario where they could have kept him, but if you're going to get something for him and he doesn't really seem like he's a future piece that you're going to have in just a one-off season, then it makes sense to get the value out of him while you can.
This one's going to be interesting. Mitch Keller.
Okay. I understand that there's a lot of talk about the Pirates moving on from Mitch Keller, but if I'm looking at this for me, trading Mitch Keller doesn't make sense because I look at the starting pitching as a strength of this team. Mitch Keller is a part of that, and I know that you still have Bubba Chandler coming up, but he hasn't pitched in the MLB. You don't know what he's going to look like when he gets to the MLB. Jared Jones is going to be coming off of a surgery that's not necessarily Tommy John surgery, but it's still elbow surgery. So you kind of have to figure out what 2026 is going to look like for Jared Jones. If you're trying to be competitive in 2026 and have the same caliber of starting pitching, I just don't know that moving on from Mitch Keller makes a ton of sense unless you think that you are going to get a high-quality bat in return. Yeah. That's the only way it makes sense to me.
Yeah, it's got to be immediate impact bats. And, somebody pointed out, actually multiple people have pointed this out, really good point. Do we trust that, honestly, for any of these deals, that Sherrington is going to be able to pull that off? Like actually maximize that value and he hasn't found one bat in his entire tenure. All of a sudden, he's going to get at least one, maybe multiple out of a Mitch Keller deal. I think the odds are pretty stacked against that. So I don't know. I also lean towards no, but there's a path where I would make this deal 100%. It's just a very narrow path because it is at least one, if not multiple impact bats that immediately are improving this MLB roster that have to come back in that deal. Because let's be honest, like aside from the durability, how dependable Mitch Keller has been, my God, I mean, that contract is awesome for a starting pitcher of his caliber to slot in anywhere, whether it's a small market, mid-market, large market. That is coveted by everybody. So I think that certainly has to play into the return as well.
Yeah, I agree with it. I think that the bat is the only thing that I would trade a Mitch Keller for if they got an impact bat. Outside of that, I just don't think it makes a ton of sense as far as a
would you trade
standpoint.
1-for-1 Mitch Keller for Brent Rooker?
No.
Okay. I think
mainly because I just don't think if it's 1-for-1 and you're not getting other pieces back, I just think that you're really banking on that your starting pitching is still going to be as good without Mitch Keller in that scenario.
The reason that I would is, again, going back to what this front office has been able to do. I trust them if they trade Mitch Keller to be able to find another vet that's going to provide Andrew Heaney-like results next year. I don't trust them to go and get another bat. So I mean, sure. I'm not pounding the table for this, but if this was on the table, I think I'm taking it.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair.
Isaac Mattson, probably not even more. We have, again, ton of control on him. Really cool story, and he's pitched very well. But, yeah, probably not worth bringing into this conversation in any direction. He's going to stay.
He is 29, though.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, he's a cool story. He's a Washington Wild Things alumni.
He actually turns 30 in this month.
Wow.
July 14th.
Wow.
Does that change your answer at all?
And I mean, I don't think anybody's given up anything worthwhile for him. And he's a guy that I think can slot into. I mean, he's been really good. Like, we'll see what happens if he does get put into high leverage roles. But say you do trade a Caleb Ferguson. Say you do trade David Bednar. We're going to talk about Dennis Santana. If you're moving these guys out, who's taking on those roles? Isaac Mattson would be one of those guys. There's like a part of me that's just very curious about what that would look like. So I'm keeping Mattson just because I can't imagine anything of value coming back in that return.
Yeah, that's fair.
Carmen Mlodzinski.
Could you trade him? I
could see him. Who was the starter? That wasn't very good. Clay Holmes to the Yankees.
Okay.
I could see somebody viewing him as a similar situation.
Okay.
Like, again, we see these things happen all the time where, like, a pitcher gets moved that we did not have on our radar was going to get moved. Could he be that guy this year? Potentially. I'm still intrigued by what he's got. I don't want him to be a starter.
That's the thing,
I hope
too. I want to quit that experiment.
Yeah. So you
got the control where I think it makes sense to you just say keep him.
Yeah. Yeah. I would keep, I think. But it's just, he could be one of those weird cases again where it's just like out of nowhere a trade comes together. Chase Shudart.
Ton of control. I this is one where it's like
2.97 ERA this year, 1.13 WHIP.
Yeah, I just don't think it makes sense.
He doesn't strike anybody out. Like, just 21 strikeouts in 36.1 innings. So I guess the question is, are those, results? He's going to continue to get those results, even though teams are putting the ball in play against them all the time. I can't imagine anybody's coming knocking necessarily, but
I think that's one's more of an I don't care. like
right, yeah.
If you got a team to trade for him, then sure, but I don't think that the Pirates necessarily have to.
And finally, for the pitchers, Paul Skeens. Can we trade him for his sake?
We're gonna save his career
for his.
We're gonna save part of his career by just getting him out of Pittsburgh.
Obviously keep here. But there's always going to be that part of me that's curious. Not that I would ever do it, but like almost just wants to see what the trade offers would.
What the offer is. Yeah.
It doesn't even matter what it is because I'm not accepting it, but I just want to know what they are. Like, I wish I was privy to that information. But yeah, obviously keep. So that'll do it for the pitchers there. Now we get into the hitters, and they have this by position too. So it's going to be alphabetically, but by position. So there's only 2 catchers. Then it's going to be okay. That's annoying. Anyways, Joey Bart.
Sure.
As in
like move them if you can.
Okay. All right. Yeah, the one thing that I really it's such a shame that Andy Rodriguez is hurt yet again. Like, are we ever going to find out? Because I would have loved to have said, yeah, like let's maximize that value. I think fans were kind of overrating what he was as a player based off last year. And I still think he's a pretty good offensive catcher, but one of the worst defensively. Like, he's the worst framer that I think I've ever watched. And it's not like the offense, like 243 this year, 346 on base, 645 OPS. The only thing there that's above his career average actually is the on base percentage, 32 points higher than what his career average is there. Doesn't hit for power, just 1 home run this year. He's driven in 14. I'll be okay. So sure. I'm going to say this because of the domino effect. I would trade him so that Henry Davis could be the number 1 guy.
Okay.
Which answers the next question. Henry Davis.
No, I wouldn't at this point. I know that's probably a lot.
You're selling super low. I mean, he's at the point where I feel like
you're selling for pennies on the dollar at that point. I just
you got to let him bust out if it's going to happen.
Yeah. Pause. I don't think it's worth it for you at this point.
I mean, he's coming.
And if he can be the number 1 catcher and get every day at bats, maybe there's a chance that he gets better. I don't think that he's had that opportunity yet and hasn't had a full-on shot to be that number 1 guy. And that's the only way that I really see him getting better too. So that's why I agree with what you just said. Like, if you would trade Bart to have Davis be the number 1 catcher. But I don't think that you trade Henry Davis yet. I don't think that you necessarily give up on Henry Davis yet, although it's not looking great so far.
Yeah, if he's gonna be a bust, you gotta just let that happen. I mean, this is just a
sometimes
weird
you can't control when you bust. You got to let it happen.
Yeah. Yep. Took the words out of my mouth. So yeah, there's our answer. Henry Davis, Adam Frazier. Yeah, trade him.
Sure.
I mean,
sure. Yeah.
There's probably a team that's would want a vet bat that can move around the field. It's interesting because like these are the types of guys that are always sitting out there in free agency, and anybody could sign, but they don't. But then they trade for it at the deadline. And
You ever notice Adam Frazier's lazy eye?
No.
Click on his name and you'll find out. Look at his picture.
Yeah, I never noticed.
Maybe I shouldn't bring that up. Teams won't want to trade for him. They'll think he can't hit because of it. But honestly, like signing Adam Frazier, signing a 33-year-old Adam Frazier, getting batting 256 on the season from him at OBP 320, like it's serviceable.
Yeah, he's fine, but that's what I'm saying. Like he's fine. Not everybody. There are teams that are going to trade an asset for this after they could have just signed him and not given up anything in free agency. Like these guys hang around for whatever reason. Nobody signs them. The Pirates do, and then they trade them for an asset. I don't know why this happens every single year. I get injuries are part of the equation there as well, but Nick Gonzalez.
No. I'd have to be blown away to trade Nick Gonzalez right now. I think that he's shown too much in his stint at the MLB for anything like that.
Yeah, I think he's their mainstay. At one of these spots, obviously, we don't know if something's going to open up. The next guy we're going to talk about could open up a spot, but right now it's second base. And I think he's a solution there. So, next up, T. Brian Hayes.
He's an interesting one because I feel like if you get the right suitor and you get the right package, I would do it. I don't think that the contract, like, I guess at the end of the day, you sort of have to value how much of the contract are you worth paying him just for the glove, which I know that he's on a 10-game hitting streak right now. And maybe that draws his value at an all-time high for the Pirates to trade him. But at what point is it more than just the glove that you're going to get from Brian Hayes? And like, is it worth having him if he's just defense and no bat?
Very weird comparison. It's not apples to apples, but because we just talked about this and a different Pittsburgh team made the trade, I think he's Minka Fitzpatrick. Because here's why. Here's where the comparison comes into play. He is objectively a valuable player for a team because of what he brings defensively, but because of his situation, in this situation, it's on the Pirates, where $70 million would be like the 13th highest paid on the Dodgers, but is like an albatross of a contract for the Pirates. It makes him less valuable, and it makes it almost like an anchor for them. Yeah,
that's true. That's actually a good comparison. I wasn't sure where you were going to go with that, but I agree with it. I understand it now.
Yeah, the player in basically to summarize, short thought, the player in contract, the player's not giving you the value of the contract because of his situation. And it's very different reasons, but it's the same thing in that the player's not living up to that contract because of the current situation. Is that because of the player? Is it because of the team? I think in both cases, it's a little bit of both.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we went through it, I think a couple weeks ago, whether it was on the show or not. And I told you that Brian, if he was traded to the Dodgers, would have like the 12th or 13th highest.
I thought you said 13th. That's why I said 13th.
13th highest cap hit on the team.
Yeah.
That's you're willing to pay that for defense. Meanwhile, the Pirates, he is third on the team? Mitch Keller, Brian, and then him.
Yeah.
If the right suitor came along, I'd do it.
I would. I think I would. Like, I mean, it's obviously he's going to depend.
Like, I wouldn't trade him for nothing. I wouldn't trade him just to get him off the team. But that's why I'm saying if the right suitor came along, like if you.
Yeah. Well, that's because, and I think that's unlike the situation of opening that spot for Henry Davis. There's not another guy necessarily chomping at that. What do we open up a spot for Jared Triolo? Like, so what are we doing if we trade T. Bryan? Unless you feel really good about like Nick York, who certainly is not like tearing things up down there or anything like that. So
let's put IKF at third and see him make the throw to first.
Well, we're going to talk about him in a second. But first, Spencer Horwitz.
Keep him, I guess.
Yeah, I mean,
you traded for him.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, honestly, he's been a nice little part of this winning streak as of late. It's nice to actually have like a first baseman that can play defense. That's been pretty nice. Nice change of pace for the team to have. So, yeah, I'm keeping Spencer Horwitz, and you got to find out if he is a guy. You just mentioned him, IKF.
I'd trade him.
Yeah,
I am.
And honestly, probably similar suitors to T. Bryan.
Yeah, I'm fully not in the camp of extending him, which apparently has had some smoke.
Yeah, I mean, I think people just look at that batting average and the on base, which is like, I mean, even he's hitting 276, 319. It's not that far off from his career averages. Actually, I mean, 276 as opposed to 263, 319 as opposed to 313. OPS nearly identical at 665. It's career 664. Just one home run this year. Obviously doesn't hit for much power. But honestly, for me, like, I think he'd be more valuable to a team if he's like their second baseman, something like that. The arm at short, man, and just the lack of range because of like, even if he gets to a ball that's deep in the hole, he doesn't have the arm to get it there. I just think he's such a liability play in that spot. I can't believe that we've seen this go on for as long as we have. But again, I think he's another guy that serves a larger purpose and is more valuable somewhere else. It's just here, it's just a weird fit. I can appreciate he's been one of the more consistent bats this year, but yeah, I'd move him. And I honestly think like a reunion with the Yankees would make a ton of sense with what their needs are. The Tigers, I believe, have been thrown out there as well. Again, same suitors as Hayes. Like, whichever team trades for one, a different team might trade for the other. So yeah, I'm trading them.
I agree.
I think lastly amongst the infield, I mean, Jared Triolo. What?
Who cares?
Yeah, what are we getting? We getting Clint Hurdle's bubblegum back in the deal? Like what is even the return of trading Jared Triolo? So honestly, though we talked about Keebrey being all glove, Jared's coming off a gold glove year last year, but like obviously not to the same level. So yeah, who cares? On to the outfielders, Alexander Canario. I can't imagine there's
why would you
a team that's necessarily trading anything of value for him. I don't know that I expect him to move into an elevated. To me, he caps as like a fourth outfielder. So whatever. If the team ultimately trades, well, we're going to talk about it in a little bit, but say like Tommy Pham, they are able to move him for whatever, just to get him off the roster and open up a spot. Canary is your fourth outfielder there. O'Neal Cruz.
No. I'll throw an asterisk on it saying like if I was blown away by a team, if I got to see the offer, I'd think about it. But just sitting here right now, no, I'm not. Like that's someone that you would like to build around if you can. But
yeah, I think he's a unique player to have to build around. I think it's tough because of the lack of consistency. But with as high as the highs are, and I really want to see him with better talent surrounding him, with more lineup protection. I'm still in the camp of extending him. Not only keeping, but I'd like to extend O'Neal if it's still possible. Mm-hmm. So that's where I'm at with it. I'm not trading him. I acknowledge the inconsistencies and the holes in his game. But to me, the highs they're too high to give up on. He's a unicorn. So, right. Andrew McCutchen.
No. I already had to see it once in my lifetime. I'm not seeing it again. No.
What's interesting, it's super interesting that it was put out there that he and Paul Skeens are the only two untouchables, because for
I think there's a reason
anybody
for
else, yeah, but it's just hilarious because like he's a 38-year-old on a 1-year deal that's still producing relatively well and would certainly be a commodity. But it's just
Sure.
again like speaking to.
Could
the
you
uniqueness
imagine
of
the
situation.
backlash of trading McCutchen again?
Do they care? I
I
mean,
don't
when
know.
has this team shown a care for their PR?
I'm sure trading Andrew McCutchen would be added to that little graphic of like the events of the 2025 season.
Mm-hmm.
But no, there's no way that I would trade him. And that's taking baseball out of my brain, and that's just all heart. That's all fandom. I'm not trading him.
Which I think is fair to do, and I think that a lot of people would fall into that camp. I think I'm with you. I can't. I'm guilty of this a lot, of doing what you are, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but potentially turning down what is clearly the better move to make long term just because of my fandom. Yeah, I'm not trading.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't really know what this return would have to be to trade him. But if you are the GM making that move, I know that you said like, do the Pirates care? But like the PR nightmare that the Pirates realistically would have if they moved Andrew McCutchen again.
Well, that's why Sherrington ends up trading him, but then he gets fired anyway. So like the GM's not even here.
That's true.
To deal with it. Afterwards. Would Andrew McCutchen sign another 1-year contract after being dealt again next season?
Is the GM the same? If
No.
the GM's the same, I doubt it.
I'm gonna say no.
You're gonna say no, the GM's not the same?
No, the GM. Yeah, no, the GM. Yeah, they hire a new GM. Sherrington's fired.
Then if he wants to play, then maybe. But
it's so ridiculous to think about. All right, Tommy Pham. Yeah, trade. I mean, if they can
trade with the Sun.
Honestly, yeah. Last couple weeks, maybe he's made himself. I don't know if he got LASIK or what happened there, but something with his eyes has been corrected. So
maybe he got in a fight and they got knocked right again.
Yeah, it's like the scene in Christmas Vacation. Fell down a well, eyes go crossed, you're kicked by a mule. Go back to normal. All right, and lastly, Brian Reynolds.
No, I would not. I know that he has been down, but if I'm looking into this as for 2026, I would not move on from him.
What's interesting is like it to me, it's the reverse of the Mitch Keller. If it was the opposite and we needed pitching, but we had a Brian Reynolds there, I would move him immediately for an immediate starting pitching help, but we don't. So I'm also keeping him.
There we go. That's everybody.
Yeah, did we have any disagreement? I mean, I said I would trade Keller for Rooker.
Yeah, that's really the only one.
Yeah.
I think so. Universally, everybody's in agreement about this team.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd be curious to know what people. I think there's more people that would probably trade Reynolds, to be honest. I know for sure there's people that would trade Cruz. So, yeah, I wouldn't say universally, but largely probably. Anyways, if you've made it all the way through, thank you for watching or listening to this episode, and let us know in the comments how you feel about the state of the Pirates, who you think should stay, who should go. Again, this is what you want, not what you think will happen. So how would you operate navigating the Pirates roster with the trade deadline looming? Let us know in the comments your thoughts on all those names, what you would do, how you feel about the directions that we went with the team. I guess I can say collectively. Who made it and who didn't make the cut. Smitty from Around the 412 here. And while I may not have much hair, the hair that I do have will not be cut by anybody besides Keek at Keek's Barbershop. My friend Christian Circle, been with us since day one. Keek's Barbershop, located 401 Burkitch Way, Suite 2 in Beaver, PA. Download the app The Cut. Book an appointment with Christian today, or you can do walk-in with Tony or Ashley. But again, Keek's Barbershop, 401 Burkitch Way, Suite 2 in Beaver, PA. Go check them out. Old school vibe in there. Absolutely love it. Cannot recommend them enough. Wouldn't go anywhere else. Maybe I'll see you there. That's right. 40 minutes in and we're just not playing the Keats Barbershop ad. But anyways, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell if you were here on YouTube. Leave us a 5-star review and subscribe if you're listening somewhere else. Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast from. We are there. Just search Around the 412. And regardless of where you're watching or listening, be sure to check out the links that we got in the description. There's a bunch of them. Tell you that right now. All of our sponsors, Game Changers, Keeks, Marcel Electric, which is above Tyler right now. And I'll tell you about serving Beaver, Allegheny, Lawrence, and Butler County. Hit them up, 724-614-0611, whether it's residential, commercial, or service. Brandon Marcel has got you covered again. Beaver, Allegheny, Lawrence, and Butler County, 724-614-0611. That's Marcel Electric. Sweet logo, kind of fits in with the whole theme that we got going on here with the show as well. And then talked about the golf outing, the Horse Nickel first annual Memorial Golf outing going on Saturday, August 16th, 9 a.m. You got to register your foursome by July 5th, though, so the clock is ticking. That the Fox Run Golf Course, again, Saturday, August 16th, 9 a.m., Fox Run Golf Course, but you got to register your foursome by July 5th, so clock ticking to do that. And then Rocking Around the 412 Year 8 kicked off as well on July 1st. Every single penny goes directly to giving kids in the 724 and 412 areas the Christmas that they deserve. Tyler and I always had growing up, never had to worry about where it was coming from. So every single penny will go to that mission. You guys, in return, if you donate at least $10, will be eligible to win some sweet prizes. Do not have a list of those yet, but Tyler's been doing Penguins tickets in the past, and obviously those don't carry the exact same value. I'm curious. Oh, do we see Penguin tickets dip below Pirates tickets this year?
I would say no still. Hockey, okay. I think it's just an average above baseball.
Okay. I just thought about that as I was saying that. But anyways, some other prizes, obviously Pittsburgh sports memorabilia is typically the plethora of what we do. So be sure to get involved in that. Donate if you can. Share, please. You never know whose eyes and ears you can get on this mission. But the link to that is also down below. But that's it. And then follow us on everything at Around the 412. Follow our individual pages at Weiler_Teeks33 and Zachary Smith PGH. For Tyler, for Smitty, this has been the Around the 412 Pirates Show. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.